Welcome to Practical English Studio, the podcast where we explore ideas that help you lead, communicate, and thrive. I'm your host, Chris, and this is episode 5. Where is my focus? On the trail of lost concentration. Today, we're tackling a feeling that I think is universal. Does your life ever feel like an 8-lane highway with information speeding past you from every direction? Or maybe like a social media feed that never, ever ends? If so, you're in the right place. To help us navigate this, I'm thrilled to welcome our guest, Jessica, a renowned productivity consultant and expert on the science of focus. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Chris. And yes, that feeling of being on an 8-lane highway is something I hear about constantly. It's the defining challenge of our time. We're flooded with information, and our brains are struggling to keep up.
So what's the first step? How do we even begin to manage that flood?
The first step is to redefine concentration. We often think of it as forcing our minds to pay attention, but I prefer to see it differently. Concentration is the skill of distinguishing a meaningful message from a meaningless one. It's about deciding what gets your attention and what doesn't.
Distinguishing a meaningful message from a meaningless one. I like that. It puts the power back in our hands. It's not about blocking everything out, but about choosing what to let in. So, let's get into the why. Why does it feel like our collective ability to concentrate is getting worse? It feels like my brain is constantly stalling, like an old car. What's going on?
That's a great question. The core of the issue is what scientists call an evolutionary mismatch. Our brains evolved over millions of years in an environment where the most important skill was to react quickly to immediate threats, a predator in the bushes, a sudden storm. Our attention system is built for that.
Right, the fight or flight response.
Exactly. But today, that same system is being triggered by push notifications, emails, and social media alerts. A new email isn't a life-threatening predator, but our brain's ancient wiring reacts with a similar jolt of, pay attention to this now. So this evolutionary mismatch is a key reason we feel so scattered.
So our modern world is basically hacking our ancient survival instincts.
Precisely. The psychologist Daniel Kahneman famously described 2 modes of thinking: System 1, which is fast, intuitive, and emotional, and System 2, which is slower, more deliberate, and logical. Our survival brain lives in System 1. The digital world is designed to keep us there.
System 1 is fast and reactive. System 2 is slow and thoughtful.
Yes, and every notification, every like, every new email gives us a tiny hit of dopamine, a reward chemical. It's very similar to B.F. Skinner's experiments with pigeons who would press a lever for a food pellet. We're pressing levers on our phones for these small, intermittent rewards. This constant search for dopamine spikes conditions us to stay in that fast, reactive System 1, making it harder to engage System 2 for deep, focused work.
That's a powerful and slightly unsettling comparison. We're like pigeons in a digital box, pecking for dopamine spikes. It certainly explains a lot. That theoretical framework makes perfect sense. But do we have any hard data that shows this trend in action?
We do, and the facts are quite harsh. Researcher Gloria Mark from the University of California, Irvine has been studying this for decades. Her research is fascinating. In 2004, she found that the average knowledge worker focused on a single screen for about 150 seconds before switching.
Okay, 150 seconds. That's 2.5 minutes. That doesn't sound too bad.
Wait for it. She repeated the study over the years. By 2012, that number had dropped to 75 seconds, and by 2021, it was just 47 seconds.
47 seconds? That's staggering. From 150 seconds down to 47 in less than 20 years. That's a huge decline.
It is, and it brings us to a crucial myth. the myth of multitasking. People often say, I'm a great multitasker, but neuroscience shows us there's really no such thing. What we're actually doing is rapid task switching.
Rapid task switching. So we're not doing multiple things at once, we're just jumping between them very quickly.
Exactly. And every time you switch, your brain has to disengage from one task and re engage with another. This process has a high cognitive load. That's the amount of mental effort you're using. Rapid task switching exhausts your brain, increases the likelihood of errors, and, ironically, makes you take longer to complete your tasks than if you had just done them one at a time.
So the feeling of being productive while multitasking is an illusion. We're just burning through our mental energy faster and making more mistakes. The cognitive load is too high. So it's like our brain is a computer processor, and every time we switch tasks, we're forcing it to shut down one program and boot up another, over and over. That sounds incredibly inefficient.
That's the harsh fact, yes.
This description of being constantly distracted and unable to focus for long, it sounds a lot like what people associate with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I think many listeners might be worrying, do I have ADHD?
That's a very common and understandable concern. And while ADHD is a real neurodevelopmental condition that requires a professional diagnosis, what many people are experiencing is a different phenomenon. Dr. Edward Hallowell calls it ADT, or attention deficit trait.
ADT, attention deficit trait. How is that different from ADHD?
The key word is trait. ADT is not a hardwired condition, it's an acquired concentration disorder. It's a direct response to a hectic, demanding, and overly stimulating environment. It's what happens when your brain adapts to that 8-lane highway we talked about.
So it's a learned behavior, a response to our environment.
Precisely. And that's actually very good news, because if this trait is acquired, it means it can be unlearned. We can train our brains to overcome it by changing our environment and our habits. This is why I advocate for a solution-focused approach. Instead of getting stuck on the problem, my focus is terrible, we can ask, what am I moving toward? What does better focus look like for me?
That's a much more empowering way to look at it. The idea that ADT is acquired and can be unlearned offers a lot of hope. And I love that phrase, a solution-focused approach. Okay, so let's get practical. If we want to unlearn these habits and adopt that solution-focused approach, what are some tools we can use in our daily lives?
Absolutely. I call these the ABCs of better concentration. Simple but powerful tools. Let's go through 4 of my favorites. The first is an exercise I call the time pie.
The time pie. I'm intrigued.
It's an awareness exercise. First, you draw a circle, a pie chart, and you honestly fill it in with how you currently spend your time in a typical day. The slices might be work, social media, family, chores, exercise. Then, on another sheet, you draw a second circle. This is your dream time pie. You fill this one in based on your deepest values. What would your time allocation look like if it perfectly aligned with what matters most to you?
Aha. So you're creating a visual gap between your current reality and your desired future. The dream time pie versus the real time pie.
Exactly. That gap is where your work lies. It makes the abstract feeling of wasting time very concrete and gives you a clear direction.
That's fantastic. Okay, what's the second tool?
The second is called sound selection, and it's a form of thought interruption. When you feel your mind is racing or you're stuck in a loop of distracting thoughts, just pause. Close your eyes if you can, and try to identify 2 distinct sounds in your environment.
Like the hum of a computer, birds outside, the clock ticking.
Yes, by focusing your attention outward on your senses, you interrupt the internal chaotic monologue. It pulls you out of your head and into the present moment. It's a powerful and simple technique for thought interruption. You can do it anywhere, anytime.
I can see how that would work. It's like changing the channel in your brain. What's number 3?
Number 3 is the monotasking challenge. This directly counters the myth of multitasking. The challenge is simple. Set a timer for 25 minutes. During that time, you work on one single task. No email, no phone, no other browser tabs. Just one thing.
Monotasking, the lost art. For many of us, 25 minutes of pure, uninterrupted focus sounds like both a dream and an impossibility.
It feels that way at first, but it's a muscle. The more you practice monotasking, the stronger your focus becomes. It proves to your brain that you can, in fact, survive without constant stimulation.
Okay, time pie, sound selection, and monotasking. What's the final tool?
The final one is the simplest and most profound: breathing, specifically focusing on lengthened exhalations. When we're stressed or scattered, our breathing becomes shallow and quick. By deliberately making your exhale longer than your inhale, say inhaling for a count of 4 and exhaling for a count of 6, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system.
That's the body's rest and digest system, right? The opposite of fight or flight.
Exactly. It's a biological switch. A few cycles of lengthened exhalations send a powerful signal to your brain and body that you are safe and can relax. It's the fastest way I know to calm a frantic mind.
These are 4 incredibly practical and accessible tools. Thank you for sharing them. As we begin to wrap up, Jessica, what is one final thought you'd like to leave with our listeners who are on this journey to reclaim their focus?
I'd like to talk about reframing a very common feeling: FOMO, or the fear of missing out. This fear is what keeps us glued to our phones, endlessly scrolling, worried we'll miss something important.
Right, FOMO is a huge driver of distraction.
It is, but I encourage people to transform FOMO into JOMO, the joy of missing out. JOMO is the satisfying feeling that comes from disconnecting and being present in your own life. It's the joy of choosing to miss out on the meaningless noise so you can be fully present for the meaningful signal: your work, your family, your own thoughts.
From FOMO to JOMO. I love that. The joy of missing out. It's about valuing your own time and attention according to your own rules.
That's the ultimate goal: to live a life guided by your own values, not by an algorithm designed to capture your attention.
Jessica, this has been an incredibly insightful conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. You've given us a new vocabulary and a practical toolkit to navigate our distracted world.
It was my pleasure, Chris. Thanks for the great questions.
To close out, I'm reminded of a quote from the writer Bayo Akamalafe, who said, "The times are urgent. Let's slow down." It feels counterintuitive, but as we've learned today, slowing down and reclaiming our focus might be the most powerful thing we can do. To all our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Practical English Studio. I encourage you to try one of Jessica's tools this week. Maybe start with just 5 minutes of monotasking or a single moment of tech-free deep breathing. Let us know how it goes. Until next time, be well and be present.